The 4th of July had always been a spectacle of lights and sounds, a celebration that Ella and I looked forward to every year. This time, however, we sought something more intimate, away from the bustling crowds and overzealous partygoers. We discovered our perfect spot through a recommendation, a sump at the end of a barely noticeable dead-end street, adjacent to the local park. It was secluded, surrounded by dense foliage that promised a private viewing of the fireworks show, just for the two of us. As we made our way there, the excitement was palpable. Ella's hand in mine, her smile radiating under the twilight sky. Everything felt surreal. The spot was exactly as described. An open clearing with a panoramic view of the sky, secluded yet open. We settled down on the blanket we brought, our supplies of snacks and drinks within reach, eagerly awaiting the night's main event. The first of the fireworks rocketed into the sky, bursting into an array of colors, illuminating Ella's awestruck face. The booms and crackles filled the air, a symphony of chaos that somehow felt harmonious. We were lost in the moment, our laughter mingling with the sounds of the celebration, a perfect encapsulation of freedom and joy. But then, amidst the cacophony, a different noise caught my attention. A rustling, not far from where we sat, as if something, or someone, was moving through the underbrush. I brushed it off as an animal, perhaps a raccoon drawn by the smell of our food. Ella noticed my distraction and squeezed my hand, her eyes asking a silent question. I smiled, not wanting to ruin our moment over what I assumed was nothing. The noises persisted, growing closer, more deliberate. Unease began to settle in, a stark contrast to the festive atmosphere around us. Ella's smile faded, her attention now focused on the sounds encroaching on our secluded spot. "Maybe we should pack up," she whispered, her voice tinged with anxiety. Before I could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows, silhouetted against the occasional bursts of light from the fireworks. It was too dark to make out any details, but the figure was unmistakably human, standing just at the edge of the clearing, motionless, watching us. Panic surged through me, a cold, paralyzing wave. Ella gripped my arm, her fear palpable. "Let's go," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. We hastily gathered our things, not taking our eyes off the figure. It remained still, a silent sentinel in the darkness. As we moved to leave, the figure shifted, a subtle but unmistakable movement. It was following us. Adrenaline flooded my system, urging me to run, but Ella's grip on my arm was a reminder that I couldn't let fear dictate our actions. We quickened our pace, trying to maintain a semblance of calm, though every fiber of my being screamed to break into a sprint. The path back to the main road seemed longer, each turn a potential ambush point. I could hear the figure moving through the underbrush parallel to us, its presence a constant threat, lurking just out of sight. Ella's breaths were shallow, her fear mirroring my own. Then the unthinkable happened. A second figure emerged ahead of us, blocking our path. We were trapped, one figure behind us and another in front. Panic turned to terror as the realization set in. We were being hunted. Ella and I exchanged a look of sheer desperation. Without a word, we veered off the path, plunging into the dense underbrush, hoping to lose our pursuers. The sounds of the fireworks above were drowned out by the pounding of our hearts, the rustle of the foliage as we pushed through, and the ominous footsteps that followed. We stumbled upon a small creek, its waters a dark mirror under the night sky. Without hesitation, we waded through, hoping the water would mask our scent or confuse our trackers. The cold water was a shock, but fear propelled us forward, each step a prayer for escape. The creek led us to an overgrown field, the grass tall and wet with dew. We crouched, hiding among the vegetation, trying to catch our breaths, listening for any sign of our pursuers. Minutes passed, each second a stretched eternity of anticipation and dread. Suddenly, a flare shot up into the sky from back where the park should be, illuminating the area in a harsh red light. In that brief moment, we saw them. 3 figures now, standing at the edge of the field, scanning the area. They were searching for us, methodically and without haste, a predator's patience in their movements. Ella's hand found mine in the darkness, a silent vow between us. We wouldn't go down without a fight. We moved again, using the flare's dying light to navigate towards what we hoped was safety. The sounds of the celebration were a distant echo now, a reminder of the normalcy we had been ripped away from. Our escape was a blur of shadows and whispers, the fear of being caught a constant companion. We avoided the main paths, the open spaces, anything that would make us vulnerable. Our pursuers were relentless, their presence a constant pressure at the back of our minds. Eventually, we saw lights, the first sign of civilization since our ordeal began. It was a residential street, houses quiet and unaware of the nightmare that had unfolded just beyond their backyards. We emerged from the shadows, disheveled and terrified, but alive. We didn't stop running until we reached a brightly lit convenience store, bursting through the door to the surprise of the lone clerk. The normalcy of the scene was jarring, the snack aisles and refrigerated drinks a stark contrast to the terror we had just escaped. We called the police, our stories spilling out in between gasps for air and sobs of relief. The officers listened, their expressions a mix of concern and skepticism. A search of the area was promised, but there was an unspoken doubt, a question of the reality of our tale. In the days that followed, our story was met with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. The police found no evidence of our pursuers, no signs of the ordeal we had described. Our secluded spot was just as we had left it, the remnants of our planned romantic evening, a stark reminder of how quickly joy can turn to terror. Ella and I clung to each other in the aftermath, the experience bonding us in a way we could never have anticipated. We were survivors, tethered by a shared nightmare that no one else seemed to believe. But we knew the truth of that night, the reality of the fear and the hunt. The fireworks show, a symbol of freedom and celebration, had turned into a night of horror. Our search for seclusion had led us into a trap, a game of cat and mouse with unseen predators. The why and the who remained unanswered, leaving us with a lingering fear of the dark, of secluded spots, and of the unknown figures that lurk just beyond the light. Our 4th of July would never be the same. The fireworks now a reminder not of independence, but of the night we fought for our lives. The colors in the sky, once a spectacle of joy, now held a shadow of terror, a memory of the night our fireworks show date turned sour.